Hello, I'm Michael Zinn, and you are here with me in the moment. Yes, this is the moment. This is something that I created, just a moment to go live and have some good conversation live with a guest and whoever's out there watching. So I decided to be intentional with myself and create stuff that I have to look forward to and somewhere where I can have great conversations. So, welcome to the moment. Thank you for coming and co creating the moment with me. Tonight, I have a very, very cool special guest. Hopefully, he hasn't arrived in the back room yet, but I can tell you about him. This guest, his name is Christopher Allan. And if you haven't heard of him, he is a local to Long Island psychic medium who is just phenomenal. I've been friends with him for many, many years now at this point. It's funny, I was looking through my hard drives and I found a bunch of old material that was when I started working with him. And initially, it was like a hotel banquet room. He would have an evening where he would do live reading while people were eating dinner. He would do live readings and he would walk around the room and do his readings. And he eventually decided to start documenting that. So he hired me to come on and video his evenings, which I started doing. So we became friends. He was also a musician in the same circles that I was in, so I knew him from some of that as well. And as our friendship developed, I became a little bit more spiritual and started encountering him a little bit more in different spiritual groups. I just got a text from him that I didn't send him the link. I'm going to tell him to check Facebook Messenger because that's where I sent it to. I sent it to him. So hopefully he gets that text back now and joins. He says he's got to use the little boys' room. But anyway, Chris and I went on a cruise. A cruise to enlightenment, it was called, and it was a cruise put on by White Light Productions, which was a group founded by Steve Interante, who's a good friend of mine, and Barbara Califano, who also became a good friend of mine through the group. And they put on this cruise to enlightenment that had a few different speakers happening, a few different events, and the cruise was to Bermuda. So it was pretty awesome. I wanted to share this with Chris and give him a little bit of a memory. I have a video that I've got all queued up. But you know what? I'm going to share something else. I'm going to talk about Chris and my friendship. So Chris asked me to do some photographs of him for his website. So this was one of the photos that I did. This is the photo that I used in the promo for tonight's show. We shot these in Patchogue down on the dock. So that was actually, I cut that out and we put that on a background. I should have brought some of the original ones up as well. And you know what? I just love that set of pictures. And he's been using it for years now. And it's just such a cool, versatile picture. I found another photo from a gig that he did in the Jones Beach band shell. So this was taken at the Jones Beach band shell. He was doing a workshop with another woman, I forget her name, and I was videotaping this for him as well. And I started videotaping this. And so on this cruise that we went on, which I'll show you shortly, I think what's this? This is his website. So I'm gonna put that up in a little bit. On this cruise that we went to, we ended up actually being roommates. And as the cruise was going on, we were becoming fast friends. And I told him, I said, Chris, you are so engaging in your readings. I would love for you to have a show. I would love to do a show with you because I create content. And he was like, yeah, that would be a great idea. And, you know, we kind of talked a little bit about it. And after the cruise, we kind of put it on the shelf. and he actually did an appearance on the Maury show. They really liked him over there, and Maury, I just heard, is retiring or something. So, but he loved doing that, and it was about a year later that I had come across Indie Music Studios. Christopher Patty runs Indie Music Studios, and it was such a cool place. And I said, you know what, this would be a great place for Chris to do a show. So Chris and I got in touch with Chris. I said, "Hey, I want you to come down and see this place." And I went down to Indie Music Studios with Chris, and he saw it and he loved it. And Christopher Patty loved the idea of doing some group readings there. So that was actually where Donna Drake had been doing her show. So it was the old Donna Drake set, and we decided to uh, go for it. And we started doing a live broadcast. Chris wanted to do a live broadcast because he wanted people to see that it wasn't edited. He wanted people to see the actual interactions, the actual process of him doing his psychic reading. So he would talk about the visions that he was seeing, or the messages. I think. So I don't know what's going on here. Hold on a second. I think that was his website that started making some noise, because I had his website queued up, and I think he had some cool videos in there. Anyway, we started doing this show. It was once a month or so. It was 50 people in the room. It was live readings, and it was phenomenal. I would get chills every single time. Sometimes I would even have an emotional response to the readings. Chris is just so good, and that was it. And then the pandemic hit, so we couldn't do those live shows anymore. We did it for about a year and a half before the pandemic, and Chris found Instagram, which actually was really cool during the pandemic. He would go on Instagram live, he would start talking, he would get an audience of probably 50 or 60 people on his live, and then he would start getting some readings, and he would start doing the readings, and he would actually figure out who it was that he was zoning in on in the conversation, and ask them if they wanted to come on live with him. And on Instagram, you can invite people into the chat, much like StreamYard. And so I wonder if you got the link yet. But it's easy to bring someone on. So he would bring that person on, and he would do a live reading, and it became something really, really amazing. I think there's a few people doing it now, doing live tarot readings online and stuff like that. But Chris is very dynamic, and one of my favorites as far as psychic mediums goes. He definitely opened me up to the world of the other side, and just believing that there was a way to contact the other side and all of that stuff. I would love to. I'm going to share this video here. Share screen, share Chrome tab, show audio, Vimeo. Yes, I am going to share this video. It's about 2 minutes. It's really beautiful. We were in Bermuda. Chris makes an appearance here, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm going to play it and leave the screen here, so give me a second. This was a video from our cruise to enlightenment, and here we go. And that's it. And that was a video from the awesome trip that we took to Bermuda, and the story that I just told you about Christopher Allan. And he is here now. So I am welcoming to the moment my good friend Christopher Allan. What's up, buddy?
Hey, pal. What's going on, Mike?
Oh, what's happening? I was just waiting for you, my friend.
Yeah. So I just came literally from a client. So
Cool.
they left my office, and I'm like, let me just hang around my computer for a little bit to do this. So it took me a while just to kind of let them get out of my office.
Not a problem at all, my friend. I'm just glad you are here with me in the moment. I was telling everybody the story of our relationship, really, when we met. And it's funny, I was looking through my hard drive and I found some of the original, I think, videos that I did of you were like, you were at a hotel, like in a banquet room, and you were actually walking around the floor, like from table to table, and doing
Oh yeah.
reading. And that was like one of them. And then I found the band shell when you appeared at the band shell at Jones Beach, and so I was just telling the story of how I would occasionally video your readings, and we made a connection, and through your readings, you really kind of opened me up to what it was you were doing, having been a little bit skeptical, but
Sure.
really letting me almost like behind the curtain, and watch the magician and see how the magic works. And it was just obvious what the magic was, that it was magic, um, so uh and then I went to the story of the cruise, and that's when you jumped in. You saw I was showing the video of the great cruise to enlightenment that we were on.
Yeah,
So
I mean that's kind of actually, it's funny. I'm actually looking over here because I'm sharing this to my little audience, so we can have a nice discussion, maybe interact with some people.
cool.
Um, but yeah, when I was actually, it's funny that you said like the magic unfold, because when I was younger and I really didn't really know how to define what it is that I was doing as a medium, I would always kind of like try to get my friends' attention. I was like, hey, you want to see a magic trick? And that's how I kind of what I called it for a while. And then I'm like, I should have never called it a magic trick. To me, it's the furthest thing from trickery. But at the same time, now all these years later of seeing countless people throughout my entire year as a professional medium, it is magical to see how things unfold, what
Sure.
comes through, and the healing that comes from the work that I do.
Sure, absolutely, and I think that word, even now they use it with the little K at the end when it's used in the spirituality term, because to describe nature and the magic and beauty of nature, even the simple stuff like that. um so, but I wanted to talk to you. I've been I've been watching so many interesting videos and listening to so many conversations about the nature of reality.
Mm.
People like, what's his name, Tyson DeGrasse, or like just famous scientists and people and thinkers, all talking about what reality is in just such cool ways. Like, it just seems like it's opened up to, it just feels different than it did when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like the realm of infinite possibilities
Mm.
um it has opened up to make so much more sense than the rigid, this is how it is kind of thing.
Sure. Even this week in my life, I've been trying to understand what an NFT is, and just to think that there's all these metaverses that are going to be created in the next year or so. It's like, wow, you know, all these other multiverses or these other things that we've created. It just makes it think like, are we just a part of someone else's bigger metaverse? It makes the whole internet, this idea of what has come in just the last 20 years really makes you think, and it makes you try to figure out like, no, maybe we're just a universe within another universe within a universe, and
Right.
it can blow your mind. You can almost go down that rabbit hole and get stuck there.
I love those conversations, and it's interesting what you're saying too, though, because I have a
I
friend. I have a friend who's just like, why? Why do you need to know that stuff? Like, does it help if you know that stuff? And the truth is, and this is what I said. I said, of course it helps. I mean, if you understand the idea of energy exchange, right, and that everything is an energy exchange, right, vibration
Yep.
and exchange, then even having conversations with people, you are more in control of the situation. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? If you know not to blow up and respond to somebody in a way that's just going to elevate the situation, you're kind of in control, right? It's kind of, it's giving you a little bit of a key to the universe. So I do believe there is value in kind of researching that stuff, but I don't think you need to dive too deep and understand it all to you know, its finite definition, because it's infinite. How is there a finite definition? Just if you could say, I get the concept of infinite, then you could just stop right there. You know what I mean? You could be like, all right, I get it.
100%.
I'm cool.
Yep.
You know?
I feel you. I try
So
not to. I think being a Taurus has really kind of allowed me like to not to. I feel like you're one of the very few people that I feel very close to as a friend. That I love it the way our minds work and we kind of understand things on the same level, but yet
mhm,
the Taurus in me won't allow me to go that deep.
right.
It's like the earthly part of me goes, I just need to focus on what kind of gets me through this day.
Right.
But I do think, ignorance is bliss. So I don't want to be that either. I want to kind of know the bigger picture.
Mhm,
So I
mhm.
try to kind of keep my mind open, and I do want to talk about things on a deep level, but almost, to me, I still feel like, I'm just going to keep, I like life the way it is. I like a simplicity for me.
Right, 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 right. You know what? That actually brings me to another conversation and reminds me that I wanted to have with you. And it's the same friend, this guy, Matt Napo, who calls himself Mind Dog. He has a show, Coffee with the Dog. I listen to it every morning. It's great. Um,
Okay.
but he had a guest on who was a psychic medium who had written a book, a fictional story, um, about but based on his own life, and his story. His name is Walter Zajac or something. um when he was younger, he had at 5 years old, he was abandoned by his parents, and started to have dreams of these women, these two specific women who he became imaginary friends with, right? So he had these two imaginary friends growing up to help him deal with whatever it was he was dealing with. And in his 40s, he actually met these women within 6 months of each other. And it was just a very interesting story. And that's what made him realize that he was a psychic medium, because he just kind of, something about the way he went through the relationships with those women. I'm having a hard time speaking. Um,
You're doing good.
Yeah. But anyway, so it just brought Matt, who is sometimes cynical about spirituality, but also very understanding about spirituality. He said, he posed the question that if the other side is all love and bliss and amazing, but we're told in spirituality that we decide to come here to be human. He's saying, why? Why would you decide to come here and be human if part of being human is learning how to get back to being love, right? Because that's why we're here, right? So I came up with an answer that I thought made sense, and I just wanted to pose it to you and start our conversation there.
I want to hear it.
um, so if you are a being that is existing in infinite love, right? Everything is love, and it's amazing. It sounds amazing, right? From the way it's been described. um, you don't know the moment. You can't experience the moment if you're infinite. As a human being, you can experience a moment,
Mm.
whether it's pain, whether it's pleasure, whatever that moment is. As a moment, you can experience it. Whereas if you're an infinite being and you're backed out so far that you see infinity all the time, you know what I mean? It's like you're surrounded by walls of calendars and you can see the calendars, but you can't zoom into just that one day. You know what I mean? That 1 minute, that 1 second in that day, because you're just too infinite. So I feel like that's why you would decide to come here and be like, I just want to experience it that moment, you know?
100%. You know, and I feel like, did you think of that all on your own with no help of no edibles and nothing that you smoked? It just I love the fact that that's how your mind works. It's so
Yeah,
beautiful.
I mean, that's, I just tried to answer the question because I feel like it's a good question. You know what I mean? It's definitely a good question, but I feel like that's a good answer.
100%. I think that's what it is, just the experience. I also, it made me think of, I was looking up on my computer to the right of me.
Yeah.
I love that Disney Pixar movie Soul that came out about a year or two.
Oh, amazing movie.
And I had to bring up this meme that says like, you can't crush a soul here in the great beyond. And then the other soul goes, that's what life on earth is for.
Ooh.
For the soul to be crushed and to be
Yeah.
tested
Right,
and
right, right.
to figure out its identity through the limits it's pushed. If we're just living in bliss,
Right.
you don't really understand. Maybe you don't know. There's more to the identity of the soul that we learn through experience of hardship.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So we come here for the entire experience, for the good and the bad.
Right.
Some well-rounded experience, but maybe it's really the hard stuff that makes life so cynical. That is really the big takeaway.
And that's even another way to describe it. It's almost like, so if you are one, if you're God consciousness or source, right? You're good and evil at the same time, right? So you're not experiencing them individually, you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
almost like as a human being now you're experiencing them. You can separate them and you can experience them differently. Uh,
exactly.
you know.
I love it.
Cool.
Oh
Well,
man.
I guess we don't have to have a conversation about it then. I guess we just feel the same way.
Yeah, we might feel the same way. There's plenty of people that maybe have never had the opportunity or the platform to think about things like this or hear it from
Sure.
our perspective.
Right.
We do this for other people that can hopefully turn
That's
on and
true. That's
subscribe to
true.
these ideas. We're not preaching. We're
No.
not we ain't no cult or anything. But just to think, these are really hard times we're living in. 21st century. The idea of also still going to war is something that to me I'm like, wow, we've really taken a step backwards
Right.
this month, haven't we? you
Right.
know
Right.
so in my head I thought when you were talking you were going to say that you had a friend that wanted to know if we're all love, then why does bad things happen here on earth, or something like that. One of the kind of that ignorant way of, but his question was actually it's very interesting, and I love your answer to it. But we still live in very awkward times where the monkey brain that I refer to really still is taking over from the higher version of who we could be or who we should be and who we are.
Hmm.
And I think it's really about remembering who we are. The whole purpose of life, I also think, is not to strive to become better or to become spiritual. It's to figure out, oh, you mean we go someplace after we die, or like we're energy? It's to remember that we are, and we are that right now
Right. Right.
in this moment. We are
Right.
everything that we strive to be.
Right. Absolutely. And that's, really that was the inspiration for this moment. You know what I mean? Why I called it the moment, because I started to learn about intention and
Mm.
controlling life. Really, I mean, that's what this is. You and me having this conversation right here is completely my choice, my doing, and you're participating, and us creating this moment. And whoever's out there listening, and I love it. It's what I started to say as the intro to the show is I created the moment to, one, have something to look forward to, and two, give me a platform to have great conversations with people who I think are interesting.
Yeah, we had conversations like this all the time. Give or take, us being live streamed. So it's just the same as hanging out with each other. But when
Totally.
you capture that and you realize, oh man, I can't necessarily I couldn't have this conversation with my dad, as much as I love
Right.
my father or even
Right.
my mom. It was almost like, they just thought differently. They grew up in a different time in history. They saw things differently. They believed in something. They believed in me. They believed in something beyond. I think they still, even up to the, before they passed away, they still had a hard time how to apply that to myself,
Right. Right.
where my parents' lives inspire me to make sure that I'm always conscious and aware
Right.
of, how I want it. I'm in control of how I want to perceive this moment and what I want it to be. You
And how
know,
you want to respond to it. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I can't control what happens to me, but I can obviously control how I
Right.
react and how I let it get to me and what do I do with it. And
Right.
I feel like, it was interesting. I just came from a client with my work that, was struggling with the same thing. I hear all the time, Mike, about it's one thing to lose somebody close to you who passes away. It's another than when the family doesn't grieve together and then gets in the way of celebrating the life lived, or the idea of like, hey, we lost the mom and the dad and the glue of our families now physically gone, but yet we're the siblings and the kids who are grown ass people, but yet they still, make life hard for each other, where it's like, one has a sense of entitlement, one's jealous, one did more and somehow still doesn't get anything, and all these people that didn't do enough for the parents when they were alive decide, okay, I wasn't there for the 30 years they needed me, but now that they're dead, I want all their money in their house. And
Hmm.
they make things complicated. And I'm like, wow, thank God I'm an only child. But
Hmm.
also how sad that is, that in that moment where life should be remembered and celebrated in the highest, so many people struggle to become emotionally vulnerable and talk about and really focus on the love rather than the greed and the ego. And
Hmm.
and it bothers me that so many of my clients and people that I read have these issues in their family, and you think every family is perfect and good, and every family
Right.
has these issues, so it's about just really realizing, it's not about the death and me communicating with people of past, but the bigger picture that it all teaches, which is none of this matters in the grand scheme of things as far as materialism and objects and stuff.
Right.
It's about really realizing that we're only this version of who we are this one go around. Life can continue. We can reincarnate. We can come back. Who knows? Another planet, if you want to subscribe to that idea, maybe. But
Right.
right now, we're this one version of ourselves. And why get caught up in greed? And why get caught up in anything that just doesn't bring out the best version of us?
Right.
And,
Of us within the collective. Like it's like,
yes, each of us bring out
to
the best in each
realize,
of us and the individual.
right,
And
to realize the responsibility and accountability to the collective and not be like, well, to not feel separate, like you're competing
mhm.
with or need to rise above everybody else. You know what I mean? They talk about, some of the most spiritual people that I know always talk about living in service. And both you and I know how wonderful it feels to have reached somebody, just through love,
Mm.
and have them respond, and I mean, so I could certainly see how living in service, it's definitely something that I think both you and I are interested in, just because we know the rewards, you know.
Sure, it's the life is like I just try to live at least complicated life as possible, and all the
Right.
complications are around me. But I just try just to be an observer of it rather than an absorber of it,
Right.
and just always try to put my best face and my best foot forward. And it's this work has really taught me that life is, whether you talk about the word the moment or this moment, it's so brief and fleeting, and
Hmm.
it's like why even make it hard? Why even
Right.
focus on the sad? You know, um, it's it's just something that this work has really taught me, just to be appreciative of the now.
Right. Well, and I've seen you do some amazing readings, and then afterwards the families come up to you and just I watch that energy exchange. You know what I mean? The love that they feel and that they receive from that reading, and how they want to give it back to you, and just how you receive back. Wow, I helped you. You know what I mean? That whole, I get to watch all of that. You know what I mean? And it's like, and I gotta say, it's almost, that's my psychic ability. I can see it. For me, it's almost like a visible thing.
Mm.
And that was actually something else I wanted to talk about. I didn't want to I didn't want to necessarily put you on the spot and ask you for a lesson, but I do know that most of the psychic mediums that I know, who really are in touch with their gift, all of them, in fact, say everybody is gifted. Everybody can do what you do. And I certainly resonate with that, and I certainly have had experiences through meditation, and things like that, where I felt like I'm crossing or seeing another realm, somehow communicating with another realm, whether it's the other side or an other side. I mean, is there just one other side? It's infinite other sides, right?
Yeah, I mean, I always say like I really don't know until I get there myself,
Right,
So I
right.
really don't know how it's structured, and I don't really know if it's like, even the most intelligent versions of ourselves can really conceptualize that other dimension, in a 3D way of talking, right? But I
Totally. And
do,
go ahead.
but I do believe, there are different levels. But yeah, it's like if a kid came up to us, we're musicians, and say like, you mean I really can play the bass guitar? Like, of course you can, do. Just like you can play the bass. You might not play it good. You might not know how to, play it the right way. But everybody, who am I to say that you can't? We all can play an instrument. I think this component of of who we are, or who we could be, this part of our brain that maybe mediums have unlocked, can be accessed by anybody. It's just maybe the strength, or the intensity of it, but or the discipline of the person who's choosing to learn it will dictate whether or not how good you are of it. But it's anybody can. It's not just this thing just you know um, given to just a handful of special people. Um, right? Can we just
So
almost maybe say in the Bible, right? Jesus could
yeah, yeah, no, I
maybe.
understand. But so let me ask you a question. And I've heard your story, and I'm trying to remember when you realized what was going on with you and the gift that you had. Did you take? I don't remember. I don't think you ever took like a class really to exercise that gift. You just kind of explored it yourself, or why don't you tell
Yeah,
us the
I mean,
story?
I think as an only child, I just was always alone a lot. I had a lot of friends in high school and stuff, but like, when I was younger, I was just more of a shy kid, so I just had all this me time. And
Mhm.
I think that was kind of the classroom. I was kind of in. I didn't realize it, but I feel like they were. I was getting all this information downloaded to me, because I was just always so in my head and as an artist and just always in that zone. So by the time that I kind of recognized what it was, I really kind of did feel like I had a lot figured out, or I understood it, or I remembered. I never kind of forgot who I was. I always was born knowing. I always kind of felt like from a really young age, I was just kind of knew these things that people maybe discover by reading books, or I was
Mhm.
like, people would tell me these things. I'm like, yeah, you didn't already know that. Like, you have to be told this. So
Right,
I was aware of this, the identity beyond this version of me,
right, right, right,
the
right, right,
physical. I was always in tune with something else.
right.
And then when I did try to kind of have people that did want to take me under their wing and stuff like that, I think it was just my impatience, that I was almost kind of like, oh, come on, like. And I don't think there was arrogance. I just think there was like, I just was so thirsty and hungry to just say like, let's just the more, this is what I think I want to come down to. It's, I just had this discussion. The more that I try to do something, or the more that I think about it, is when I fail at something.
Mhm, mhm,
Um,
mhm.
so I always learn that the best way that I do things successful, or I get things right, is if I just don't think about it too much and I just do it.
Right,
And
right,
so I realized, I was like, oh, if I can just get this when I'm doing this and just remembering how it feels, I just kind of always just kind of let my higher self guide my physical self more than anything.
mhm.
And sometimes I look back and wish, oh, those people that did extend their arm to me, you know, I
Mhm.
wonder how I came across, but I just was like, thank you, but no thank you, or I just never invested the time. And sometimes I
Right.
think I do, because I feel like we all have something to teach somebody, and I definitely
Sure.
you know, but I feel like, yeah, I've just always just been that way. I've always just kind of liked being self-taught and stuff, and
Right.
I feel like my guides still teach me, and I trust them sometimes more than I trust just somebody in a Reiki circle trying just to focus on auras.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's how I started with in my world, and I always kind of felt like it was hard for me just to relate to people that do the same work that I do. Even the ones that I respect, I love the fact that they do it. But
Right.
when I'm just having a conversation, it was always about this, and I'm like, oh
Right.
my god,
There's
let's
other
talk about the
aspects. Yeah.
Yankees or something here,
Right.
or let's
Right.
just
Right.
talk about how much we hate something. Don't you hate
Right.
something? It can't just all be like love and normal. So,
Don't you
I
hate something?
uh, let's complain about the DMV together, and then we can go back to like what our grandparents say about the future. I feel like I just always kind of found myself just always just like having a hard time relating to
That makes
people this way.
sense. It's got to be difficult when you're like, oh, you're a psychic medium, I'm a psychic medium, and then immediately it's like, shit. Now what do we talk about?
But at
Yeah.
the same time, remember when I started, I was a lot younger than what people maybe were, So here I was
Right.
just dealing with a lot of like, oh, they weren't older, but they were older than me, and I didn't have a lot of in common. So it was like I was the only guy. I feel like I'm always the only straight guy that's a millennial that does this work, and I love everybody, but I just feel like I just have a hard time truly relating to everybody. Where I go, oh, okay,
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
So. Um, yeah,
You're
it just
definitely
who I
unique,
am.
Mr. Allen. You are definitely unique for sure.
I never think so. That's the problem. I always just feel like I go around and I go food shopping and I see people arguing in the supermarket or other things, and I hear how people the things they get into and the problems and stuff, and I go like I wish my observation is everybody's weirder than me, but I can't say they're weird because I was the one who decided to say I speak to dead people or I do
Right.
this, But so
Right.
like who's the weird one in the room? It's definitely not. It's me. I'm the weird one who lives in his
Right.
head. But to me, everybody else is like weird. Like why would you do that? And what. But so I think I'm not as unique, but people just always remind me every day. Yeah, there's not you are you and different
Right.
and klutzy. So, but I embrace that, and I encourage anybody who's watching that to embrace whatever makes you different and recognize that that's your power.
Totally. Totally. And you said something important. I just want to kind of circle back to it because I love. I've been noticing through the live stream and through this, like I love these little sound bites, right? And you said something about it was when you realized that there was a you beyond this, and you kind of felt your face. You were like, there's a me beyond this. I think that's a big key to being conscious and being aware. And I think what's really cool is you can talk about that these days.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And
yeah.
those are the conversations that I love, and that's why I want to get on this platform and have those conversations, because honestly, Chris, it's like that belief and having conversations with people like you that keep me sane in this day and age with what's going on
Mm,
outside of me. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
I know that you exist, so it's like it can't be all that bad, right? I mean, and same thing with me. I know I exist, right? So I know, when people say, "Why do you do this? Why do you put so much love out there?" It's like, so I know it's out there, right? Because otherwise, how do I know? If I put it out there, I know it's out there. So that's what
Wow,
gives
that's
me
a really
hope.
cool way of putting it. One of the earliest memories I ever that stuck with me as an adult now was, and when you were talking about it, just like it hit me again. I'm like, wow, it really has made an impact. I was like, I don't know, maybe 3 years old, and my mom was washing dishes in the kitchen, and I was on my parents' bed, just jumping up and down, like having fun with myself, being stupid. And then I got winded, and I was just laying in the bed, like after like just being just being silly on the bed, and I just had this thought that hit me. I'm like, wow, I'm me, but I'm not. Is exactly what I thought to myself. And I remember thinking in my head, being kind of confused at what I was telling myself. What does that mean? You're you, but you're not.
Hmm.
And then I
Hmm.
just kept on saying, I'm me, but I'm not. I'm this, but I'm not. And now I rethink that memory that I had as a kid. And I go, wow, that was a moment. That was a profound thing
I'm
for a
brilliant.
3 year
That
old to
was only
think.
three. Yeah, that's great.
I tell you
Totally.
that I was more brilliant then than I think I've become now, because
Well, you know
then I
what?
tried to kind of fit or just kind of make this world
Right.
work for me. But back then I was like I had it all figured out. I almost feel it on.
Well, it's
Um,
things like that you remember thoughts, and you're like, yeah, I kind of always didn't really buy into what most people buy into, you know. And listen, I mean, both of us, we grew up here in the United States, so we certainly have layers of what they put on us, right? We're coated
Hmm.
with layers of stuff, and we're trying to work through it. And I think everybody is. And you know, for me, that's the great thing, realizing that, even being able to look back and say, oh, you know what, I got this layers of stuff on me. Sometimes I'm going with the layers, and sometimes I'm going against the layers and peeling them off, you know. And just knowing that is what's so great. And you know, I don't know, I just feel like, again, the company that I keep reminds me that there is hope, and people will realize that these layers will come off, the veil will be lifted.
Yeah,
uh,
but at the same time, I mean, we were talking about how I feel like, we really haven't made much progress as humanity if we're still talking about nuclear wars and ego and stuff
right.
ruling the game here. But maybe is it really? Maybe it's not meant to be fully understood, right? Maybe
But
it's always supposed
don't
to.
you feel like that's part of what needs to happen in a way? Like, I mean, people almost need to see how bad it gets before it gets better, you
Sure.
know?
Even for like people struggling with addiction or anything, like, you have to kind of fall a bunch of times, and
Yeah,
it takes a long time. And maybe because but I always try to stay optimistic. But yeah, maybe, but also that's what makes us human. When I'm in
right,
deep meditation and when I have a spirit that's strong, they always talk about how they're fascinated by humans, how, you know, um, the second something happens to our fellow man, we'll try to defend them, but at the same time, in another scenario, a second later, we'll go against them.
right, right, right.
And it's always kind of this like us versus them mentality that rulers, dictators, whoever comes into power makes us feel like it has to be something versus them. And I always joke that maybe aliens have to exist. I hope aliens exist, and if they invade Earth,
I'm
that might be
waiting,
the
man.
only
Like, come
opportunity
on,
we have
what
as
are you?
humanity to kind of come together fully to say us versus
Yeah.
them.
And you know what? That was something you talk about, like things when you thought when you were a kid. I was always like, man, you know what? When the mothership appears and everyone's like, oh shit, that's when the human race will join and say, oh, we are one race, you know?
Yeah.
And that's pretty profound for a young kid to think. And I remember thinking that way, way back, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess I want to ask you, you know, I feel like I said earlier, like everybody can be psychic if they put their mind to it, right? If they decided, hey, this is what I want to tune myself into. And I feel like I probably could, and I just haven't made that decision to do that for whatever reason it might be. Maybe I'm interested in that. But do you believe that there are things people can do to exercise those muscles and get closer to it? If, like, I've never necessarily, you know, seen a vision that I felt needed to be interpreted to be a message for someone else.
Mm.
But if I wanted that, do you think it's like just basic stuff like meditation, or, I mean, what would you
I,
say
I
to
I
someone
think
who's looking to do it?
even past meditation and just kind of the what is always thrown out there. I think it's the idea of creating a dialogue between yourself and your soul.
Hmm.
That's what I always recognize that works
Hmm.
best for me is when I set the intention
Hmm. Hmm.
of
Hmm.
I'm willing, I give that part of me permission to then do this in service for people. I think once I made that intention, that's when it came to me the most. So it's not about just exercising and nurturing your body to be able to kind of be receptive. I think it's the idea of also giving your own self an intention and a permission to access kind of that
Interesting.
Pandora's box.
Sure.
And I've always told I believe in angels, but and I don't really know if they're 10 feet tall, 20 feet tall. I don't know what they look like. I don't,
Mhm.
but I think they're different than just the guides or our loved ones that are existing in the next world. I think they are protectors our of us here, but I always feel like it's been communicated to me that they'll only help us when we ask them for help.
Right, 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 right.
So it's like it's the idea of they're
Wow.
waiting
I
for
just
us to like to knock on the door or to say, okay, I'm good. And for some people it might just be an interest, and you can maybe apply this to how you live life or look at life. You don't
right.
have to knock on the door and receive stuff. um, but I think we all can. It's a matter of where we are in our life and if we're ready or if we want to or if the desire's there. I feel like a lot of people are mediums and they can be psychic and be intuitive. Doesn't mean you should be doing this for other people.
Right, 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 right.
But
True,
that's cool. Like,
true.
you can bake pies and you can have the best apple pie. Doesn't mean you have to sell it to people. You have to make it a career. You have to share it. But but it's just the awareness that I
Right,
think it teaches, which is never about death and dying. I always realize it's not about me just always talking about life after death. It's about like what it really teaches me. And having lost both my parents and dogs and cousins and friends and
hmm
everybody in my pretty much so many loved ones at a younger age,
hmm
um, I mean, realize like, hey, it's like
I
it's
can handle it.
okay,
Yeah, yeah, you could deal with it much
I can
easier.
deal with it. It's
Yeah.
really empowered me. It hasn't desensitized me. It
Right.
hasn't made me just numb to the subject matter. It has made me embrace death and let death teach me what it's
Absolutely.
supposed to.
And that's a big thing. Before I get into that thought of people's fear of death, I did want to tell you that you very abstractly reminded me when you said, "I don't know if an angel's 20 feet tall. I don't know if an angel's 40 feet tall." So I had an interview with Tommy Chong. I think I might have told you or not, but I got an
Yeah,
interview with
man.
Tommy Chong. He was so awesome to speak to. He actually said an
You saw
angel.
elves?
Nope.
Oh,
He said an angel is the size of a thought. How fucking awesome is that? Brilliant. Right? Exactly. Who knew Tommy Chong had such wisdom? Amazing.
ah,
Yeah, so amazing. No, it was, and he's so genuine when he talked when we were talking about this stuff. That's why I had him on the show. Somebody had My friend Matt had him on the show as a guest, and he started talking about being conscious and aware. So that's how I ended up getting the interview, and it was just so cool talking to him.
oh
Um,
man, I'm gonna steal that from him. That's just so
yeah.
beautiful. It's
It's
so
so right. So an angel is the size of a thought. It's like, you
put
know,
that on a t-shirt, man.
fucking
Sell that.
amazing, so amazing. So but what you were just talking about also was fear of death, and that is, I think, also one of those layers that's put on around people, is this fear of death, like you're no longer going to exist, and that means something. When for people like you and me, it's almost like, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I think you probably are too. Not in
Yeah,
a not in
I
like
want
a
to fuck the
suicidal
heck out of
way,
my
but
kids
like,
and like
yeah,
mess around with them.
exactly. It's like I have no fear of death, and I think that's, you look at people who are happy in life and people who are struggling, and I think that's one of the delineators right there, is just, if you're afraid of death, man, you're not going to be happy, because it's looming.
Yeah, I mean, on one level, I always tell people like, act like there is no tomorrow, so maybe you can live, in the moment, right? But at the same time, I think, my mom had a huge fear of death. Like she always admitted it. My mom couldn't even sleep, and she had a fear of just dark.
Mhm,
She had a lot of like unique quirks that a lot of people can relate to.
mhm,
But I really feel like my mom always said, I believe in what you do. I believe all this.
mhm.
My biggest thing that worries me, Chris, is when I pass away, I just want to be myself. I don't want to be energy and a piece of electricity. I want to be me. I like me. I liked
Right.
me when I was 35 and I had all my hair and I had my and I'm like, well, you will be, but you're so much more than that. And it was hard for her just to conceptualize what it means to be this infinite piece of wisdom or a soul, and so she always wanted just to stay herself, and that was her fear. It wasn't so much about dying, about just losing identity.
Right. Isn't that amazing? Like, you're afraid to die because you don't believe how much more you actually are than what you
Yes,
are. It's
exactly.
like, that's pretty crazy. So I don't know how you're feeling. I know we have a small audience. I don't know if they need to be asking. You might probably feel great that you're not having to do any readings or anything, but I'm just wondering if you're feeling anything, or if I should coax people to ask you questions, or
Yeah, if
um,
anybody has any question, be more than happy to answer anything. or
Yeah.
give my take on anything, whatever.
I mean, take advantage. Christopher Allan usually has much larger audiences, and it's a good time to talk to him if you want. I know personally, Chris, I love speaking to you, and we definitely got to hang out soon because
Yeah, well,
I
I'm
do
getting
miss you.
married this year, so you're one on the names for me to want to do my bachelor party in a few months
Whoa, nice.
or
That's
something, or at least
cool.
the wedding. We got I got to invite you to something. You're such a big part of my life, man.
That's awesome. I'm very excited and very very happy for you. I know how happy you are and how wonderful your girlfriend is. So, um,
Thanks,
you
dude.
know, yeah, yeah. But this has been fun, man. What else can we talk about? I mean, we've been online for almost an hour. Um,
Wow, feels
I
like
mean,
10 minutes.
really, it was. I know. Janice is here. Thanks for sticking with me, Janice. Gabby's here. Thanks, Gabby. Carlos is here. Leslie, how you doing, Leslie? Are we dealing with past people or more like global consciousness? Wow, good question. Well, Chris is a psychic medium. I would imagine you mostly deals with past spirits. But what do you think of that question? What are you thinking about the global consciousness these days, Chris?
Just when I think like, oh man, I'm subscribed. Yeah, like I love the idea, and if I have hope. It's like, and things like this happen to me, like, oh man, I don't really know. Are we on the same page? Are we really in tune with each other? Are we really connecting? I would hope maybe this might be the turning point, right? It was this idea that just a few weeks ago we had February 22nd, 2022.
Hmm.
We had that, and we were like, oh man, this might be a cool indication that we can like put this on social media and make it seem like oh, we're this big turning point. And then the next day, we're having like the biggest country in the world invade a smaller little country, and it's like, what are we
But,
doing?
but why could it? Maybe that's it. Why would it have to be? Expectations of how that message comes through. You know what I mean?
Yes. So when people do ask, what I thought your friend was going to ask, why do bad things happen to good people?
Hmm.
If there's a God, why is anything bad happen? Well, it's
Hmm.
through the bad or through the hard that we are able to make better moments in the future.
Absolutely.
And that's why I always ask my parents. I'm like, they worked so hard to have a son, for so many years, and they finally had me. And when I was younger, I was like, I do want to be a father. I feel like I have
Hmm.
so much love to give, but do I really want to bring a kid into this world that is still so kind of cynical and dark and kind of ego driven and
Right.
just a scary place? You don't know what's going to happen. And
Right.
my dad was like, well, your kid can be the change that
I was
changes
just
everything.
that's exactly what I was thinking. I'm amazed. I was like, and you know what? I got to say, I've always subscribed to exactly what you said. Oh, I do not want to bring a child into this world. It's just so horrible. But like your dad said, you know what I mean? It's like, but maybe that's the world needs more love. And how could a child that somebody like you or I make not be anything but love? Well, we have a comment here. I want to see how you feel about Rachel Marie. Um, my sister and I have an appointment for a private reading with you in June. I can't wait, hoping it will help with this grief. It's a nightmare. So maybe you can give her a little resolution until then, or I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
just
mean,
wanted.
like lately, just because maybe it has happened more. I'm just more aware of it now, but through the
Mhm.
pandemic and stuff. But a lot of recent passings, a lot of deaths. But I've seen so many people who they just pick up the phone after going to their loved one's wake, and then like, I
Mhm.
need to talk to him. I'm my mom. I need to like right away. And
Mhm.
in one level, I go, oh, well, that's kind of cool, right? Because
Mhm.
you're like, hey, it's not about like believing anymore. They believe that they're fine enough that they can just show up in my office the day after they lose their loved one, and they're make a connection, and they're open to it so soon.
Mhm.
um but then I always go like, well, but it just happened, and there's just so many things that probably people with new grief are hoping to have brought up by me or them
Mhm.
that come
Mhm.
through, that are always different than if you came to a reading maybe if and gave it some time.
Right, right, right.
Because a lot of people who just go through grief, they're always focused on like, um, you know, what does my mom feel about me having to sell her
Sure.
house? I don't want to
Right.
sell the house. It's connected to the family. My brother wants to get rid of it so he can. And I'm like, that's not what your parents in the afterlife are really focused on, whether it just
Right,
happened or
right, right,
it's,
right.
you know, yeah, it's unfortunate, but like, it's beyond that. I'm here to acknowledge, who they are, how they passed, their dates, good memories, what's coming up,
Mhm.
what's been going on since their passing.
Hmm.
They could bring up that house situation, but it's not about them giving opinions about what do they think of my boyfriend. Unless he's like a convicted pedophile, they're not really going to call him out on, hey, I don't think he's good for you,
Right.
because then that would be interfering with life. So I feel like when you're
Right.
newly grieving, you have all these set of I need to knows that I feel like if you just give yourself some time, your own heart, your own breath will provide you the answers.
Mhm.
Mediums are more
Oh, I love
for
that.
the
Yes.
idea of reminding about the connection that you can have with them,
Hmm.
not what I can do for you.
Hmm. 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 I love that you just brought up the breath and the way that you brought it up. That's been something too that like just in my mind and my brain, the concept of how important breathing is to life. That your breath is your connection to life, right?
100%.
I mean, it's like, if you think about, and now I'm going to get all crazy. If you think about atoms, right? The way everything is made up of atoms, right?
Oh, I thought you meant my cousin Adam. Okay, so we're thinking
No,
about
no,
atoms.
atoms, ATOM.
All right.
Um, everything is made of atoms, right? When you breathe in, right, that air that you're breathing in is made of atoms, and those atoms are basically essence, right? Source that's just out there, and you're breathing it in, and those atoms are mixing with your blood cells, and it's just because if you imagine the ocean, the way the ocean is just tumbling with itself, that's what's happening with those atoms. So it's like you are in the ocean of existence through your breath, you know
Yeah.
and I think about that stuff all the time, and I want to try to make a video that visualizes that, but I still haven't figured out how to do
Oh
it.
man, I could see it in my head so clearly.
I
So
see it, I see it, but I just don't know how to do it. Like, what CGI tools do I need to create it?
get cracking. That
Yeah,
would be a cool visual. I think there's so many things that should be visually kind
totally,
of you know done with this work to kind of
totally,
get people to practically understand exactly what's going on and
totally. Oh,
understand it
this is
better.
great.
You know,
Leslie
um,
says we are breathing in the same atoms as Jesus and the people from the past. I love that. That's just more testament to the infinite nature of being. You know what I
standing
mean?
in the footsteps of Jesus and breathing the same toxic air as he once did.
No, that's great. And Gabby says, I needed to hear this. Gabby, I'm glad you were here then, because that's why you came, and
Thanks,
that
Gab.
that's why we said it, right? It's all connected.
It is all connected. I love doing stuff like this. I love talking about this and stuff. So, I love to come back and stuff down the road if you ever have time for me. But for anybody who just looks at mediums as just we're able to know things maybe that are hypersensitive or like not everybody knows. It's one thing, but I think we're here to teach the true potential of everybody. We all can reach.
Mhm.
There's more for us to access, and this is the time for us to embrace our true identity, which is
Right.
we're more than these idiots on TV and what they do. We can be the change in society. I think we're
That's
driven
it.
by fear of not knowing how to do it. Because the ones in charge of all these nations haven't become this way yet.
Right.
I can't wait till one day maybe there would be somebody with a
Right.
little bit of a heart and a soul that preaches. He'll probably get nailed to
Totally.
it for us.
Well, it seems like I was trying to think of a meme the other day. I was thinking about how community comes from people wanting to help each other to make their life and everybody else's life better, and that the the fall of community is people hating on each other the way things are going right now. So we're in that fall of community phase right now. But if you like you were just saying something, I was just thinking about, yeah, the cavemen, like the first caveman who discovered fire must have been so excited to show it to the other cavemen and be like, look at this, look what we could do, and share his knowledge and make it better for everybody else. You know
And
what I
yeah, but
mean?
the other people are probably scared out of their you know cave pants to what exactly fire was, and maybe they saw it as a threat and they probably stoned him to death, and then they stole his idea down the road. Now you don't know what happened, but I feel like new
Oh,
ideas.
silly humans.
Yeah.
uh, so Leslie says, can mediums know about people from past lives?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I 100% believe in past lives and reincarnation. I do believe that.
Hmm.
Um, I always thought by now I would have these stories where I would pick things up about someone when I'm sitting across from them, and maybe I do. But if it doesn't, if it's something, I purely base my style of reading on things that the person knows, so that it's like, okay, well, how would a stranger know this about my life or me, or something I don't even know, and then 3 months later, they're writing and saying like, you said something and it came true, and I can't believe it, and that's been the biggest validation, you know. But like, how do I say something about like, oh, you were a Puritan back, or you lived in ancient Greece, or you were part of Atlantis. So like, I don't know. Did you really go down to the Titanic, or do you just want to think that way? It's so
Right.
like, I really, how do you prove that? So I
Right.
feel like in my readings, I really don't bring up about anything other than the life just lived, with your loved ones or your friends or your life now, because I think that's what this work is meant to do, is to help us in the now.
Right. For
Um,
sure.
but
Right.
I
Right.
do believe in that, and I do feel
But
like
that's a different kind
sometimes
of reading, right? I mean, a
it's a
past
whole,
life.
yeah, and maybe that's me putting up my own limitations of what I'm capable of absorbing.
Right.
100% it could be the
Interesting.
case, but
Wow.
to me,
Interesting thought. Yeah.
um, I just have a hard time. Maybe it's just how I skeptically look at things. Go, well, if you can tell me the name of my late husband's name and the dog that we had when we first got married, and how his mother passed away,
Mhm.
then I know it's my family and I can better cope with life a little better.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but for me to say maybe the reason why you can't drive over bridges is because in your last life you were you drowned.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right. Right.
I feel like, how do you prove that? Like, you're just going to take my word for it, and I feel like
Right.
I wouldn't take a psychic's word for it, so I
Right.
can't
Right.
go down that path.
But sometimes, the same way in a reading, that person will make the connection for you. They'll say, "Oh, here's how that makes sense." You know what I mean? We do have some good questions. We have, when do communications with spirit happen most? I like that we're getting questions
When
about
I'm
it.
naked in the shower, and it's a shame that I can't hear people naked and wet. And
And then
I'm
of course,
being funny, but it's true. Like when I'm in the shower, that's when everything, like all my moments of like Zen come to
oh
me.
wow,
Not
that's
my
great.
not my moments of Zen, but my moments of Zen come to me when I'm in the shower. And so, uh,
Thankfully.
what
Oh
what is
yeah,
the
that
brother
you know
doing?
what? That makes so much sense. It's funny that you say that too, because I remember uh, I was in a meeting. Sarah Curley had a Zoom meeting, and there was a few people there, and there was one girl there who also was a channel who spoke to me afterwards and channeled some stuff for me, and said something about water specifically, and said to thank water, to be grateful and thank water, almost like in a prayer, right? And the next time I was in the shower, it just happened. Like I didn't even consciously do it. I just looked
You
at the
got on your
water.
knees and
I felt it, and I was like, "Holy shit! I'm so grateful." And I was thanking the water, and I was like, "Bam! Whoa! That was good advice." you know. And whatever it was she did, it was like a nice little thing. Kathy Pollard is asking if you're doing reads now, so I don't know if you're again.
I've been doing readings since 9 o'clock this morning. So
Gabby is asking, how do we do a phone reading? I've got your website there at the bottom of the screen. I'm still here.net. That's how you can get in touch with Christopher. He is highly recommended by me and many, many others. I haven't actually had a reading. I don't think he owes me a reading,
yeah,
but
whatever.
but I have seen the most amazing readings happen in front of my eyes. Christopher has such amazing stories. It's even worth it to not get a reading, to just ask him some of his stories and just spend a little time and hear some of the stories. My favorite one is the Charlie Brown tattoo on the biker
Oh,
dude. That's like my favorite story. I don't know if you want to tell a quick story.
yeah, I was
Janice is
just watching
saying,
it because I videotaped it. So this really big guy came to a reading, but he was supporting his wife. But the wife wanted him on the reading because she knew that he had a lot of things he needed to sort out. So he's kind of with his arms crossed, and he's just kind of like a big meathead, and it's just this big boulder in my office, and I'm trying my hardest, and I got that his mom had passed away, and he just kind of gave me like the yes nod without vocalizing that, oh, that was right, thank you. um, and I just said, you seem like such an imposing guy, but I'm seeing such an innocently cute, odd little thing around you. He goes, yo, what's that? I'm like, well, your mom wants to talk about a Charlie Brown Christmas tree. And he just stands up. It's almost like I thought he like lightning went through his body, and he just stood up in that
Quickly, yeah.
second before I can even say Christmas tree, and he just jolted up and he started to strip. And I'm thinking, oh, maybe he's like, he just realized I just said the stupidest thing, and he's like, why did I even come here? I'm leaving, Joanne. And instead, he took his clothes off. And now I was thinking, is he going to fight me? And no, he was trying to show me that this huge, imposing man, too tough to show emotion, got a Charlie Brown Christmas tree tattooed from the base of his neck all the way down to his booty, in
His
memory of
entire
his mom who
back.
passed away.
His entire back.
His entire back.
Wow.
Well, I don't know, Cindy Lou. I don't know. What are the names of the characters?
No, Cindy Lou is from
Oh,
Horton
the
Hears
Who
a
Hill.
Who. Yeah, yeah.
Lucy and I Miss,
Right, right, right.
whatever they are, and Charlie Brown
Linus,
and
I
Snoopy.
miss.
I Miss in the morning. He's hanging. What was the kid with the
Peppermint Patty and I miss in the morning.
the regular Peter Schultz crew?
Oh my God, that's such a great story. Amanda says, "I love hearing your stories." Joe says, "I love hearing your stories." Doreen says, "Hello." So
Hi, Doreen.
we got some people gathered here. Gabby says, "Right now I'm going through a really hard time, and someone I helped promise me specific things that are now changing in my life, and he passed away. I trust you, but thank you. This conversation is amazing." Oh, so you're not asking anything. You're just expressing gratitude.
Giving some gratitude.
Thank you for being here, Gabby. Seriously, like I said, the moment is created out of intention.
Can you ask Gabby if there's an issue with her biological father and her? Is there a disconnect with Dad?
You can ask. I think you just did.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Or did we have to heal with Dad?
Ella's saying hi. So Gabby, Chris is right there with you. He's asking you about your biological dad.
Or just Pops,
Or just Pops. As we sit and we wait. What's up, Ellen? So Ellen Sager is here. She's saying LOL. I miss you, Ellen. I definitely have to come up to. Oh, look at that.
Look at that.
You were the inspiration for my background. Your background.
There's a Prince concert going on right behind me.
That's so funny.
Where's this girl? All right, well, we'll wait for her.
Yeah.
When she said something, I almost felt there was this idea of like the fathers being the challenge to her in the past or something. And
okay. And there you go. There's some validation. Gabby says yes.
Okay. Well, I wonder if we always kind of feel like, we're grateful for that. You said that people are trying to step up and help you through what you're going through right now. But I almost feel like it's the idea of like recognizing that even if somebody did pass away or whatever you said, they're not able to do what they were trying to do for you. You can do it yourself. The idea of look how far you've come with kind of dealing with things, with whatever issue you had with your father that affected you. It's like, maybe the universe says, yeah, people can lay the groundwork, but it's really up to you to kind of, complete it or see it all through to help yourself. So I'm also seeing November the 13th or Friday the 13th. So I feel like there's this whole reference to why that number stands out in your family. I'm thinking I don't even have that in my family, but there's nothing with the 13th. I don't think so. But I'm seeing that, or 1-3. And by the way, do you still talk to our good friend Steve Interrante?
Occasionally I do. I actually saw him the other night at Linda's house. Gabby's just saying, sorry to interrupt. Gary's saying the person I helped died and is now showing up in my life, I guess, in his afterlife. Yes, in my life.
In my life. Cool.
Showing up in her life in his afterlife. So
That's cool.
she's getting visited or something.
Yeah. I just have to say, Gabby, just while I'm talking to you, all I keep on seeing is Jason from Friday the 13th in my head. So I don't know if there is the name Jason that's connected, or the 13th, or what's this story about the horror films and chasing somebody around with a knife. But that's all I'm seeing as I'm every time I read your little text. I hope that doesn't scare her.
Whoop, hold on. I see. Hey, Chris, I smile every time I see you and the man you've become. 31 Scoop nights are such a fond memory for me. That's from Glinda the Good Witch.
Oh, I think that's when I had my band. We used to play this area of the town we lived in that had a Baskin Robbins store, and so they would have the showmobile, and we would almost kind of feel like we were holier than God playing this gigantic stage for
Right.
all these people, and then these nice people that worked at the 31 Scoops Baskin Robbins would kind of be so gracious with their with allowing us to play, but then they also made us these cakes with our faces on it way before it became
Nice.
like customary, like or normal. Like this is we're going back to like all these
I miss your Paige
days
and
of
Grace days.
yeah.
She's
So
asking, are you still doing concerts?
yeah, actually, we were just speaking. It's such a busy year for me this year with so much going on, both professionally and personally. But I'm itching to play music again, and so are the same people I've been playing music with since those days. And so we always try to figure out what we're going to do. So I think this year is going to be the year we're going to be able to come back and do something now that the pandemic's behind us.
Cool. Rachel Marie says her son is watching Freddy vs. Jason right now.
Oh, that's really funny.
Karina says, good evening. What's up? Denise says, good evening. Kathy, what's up?
Oh, that's awesome. Look, we got a couple more. There you go.
Yeah,
So
we got some latecomers who came late.
That's really funny that I am bringing it up, and then you're saying that your son's watching this Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
Is Dad passed for us, Rach?
You're asking Rachel if Dad's passed?
Yeah, Rachel Marie.
Amanda, I struggle with not having a concrete answer as to what my loved one died from. Any suggestions on how I can get this closure and continue living?
Yeah, well, I mean, I can say one would think I'm getting the idea of like septic or bacterial infection, but the idea of I had just read The Family of Gabby Petito. If you guys are aware of obviously that young girl who passed away a year ago,
that's
so
awesome.
tragically that made national headline news and stuff. And in my head when I met them, I didn't know they were her cousins and her aunts. I didn't know that.
Wow.
I just thought it was just another young girl who sadly died recently. So, the entire time I'm bringing up, this idea of how she was talking about a wedding this year, and her aunt was like, yes, I'm planning my best friend's wedding. I'm going to take over that responsibility for my friend. And I was like, well, she knows about that then. And then she said Greece, and she was like, well, the person who's getting married, my friend wants to have a destination wedding in Greece, so I'm trying to make that happen for her. And I was like, that's beautiful. This poor girl wants to bring up, how she's a part of what we're doing to make life better for the people we love now while we still can. And she's around for that. And the whole family was, it's nothing bad. It's normal, but they wanted me to focus on how she died.
Right.
And in my head, once I realized who I was talking to or talking with, in my head, I'm like, wait a second, like, don't we all know how she passed away? Or at least 90% of, wasn't it written in this guy's diary? Or this must we people watching CNN know how your niece passed away,
right?
And then she was like, no, I need to know what she felt, what was she thinking, and I'm like, I don't know, how do I prove that, But the thing I said right before that was that I had said that Gabby was singing me "Let It Be" by the Beatles.
Okay. And
this is like what a Zillennial or a Gen Z person. What are they doing? Liking the Beatles. And they all looked at each other and they rolled up their sleeves, and they all 5 of them had gotten tattoos a couple of weeks prior to seeing me that said "Let It Be."
Wow.
And
in honor of Gabby.
In honor of Gabby.
Wow.
And I was like, well,
Chris, that's amazing. I just got some.
Then chills. Let that be the thing.
Yeah.
That answers your questions. Like, just let it be. Don't focus on the death or what we can't control. Or what just let it be. But know that I'm connected, man. And I know the family's going to Greece for a wedding soon.
Right.
How many, Irish people in Long Island are going to Greece for a wedding? We are. I know that. Yeah. I know about Zach, the boyfriend. I know that the tattoo that somehow I saw that came out before I was born is now on all of our arms for me. That's what I wanted to to get across.
Yeah.
So for you, Amanda, or whoever, even though I said I think it's some kind of like infection or something, that caused your loved ones passing. It's it's really like, just let it be. Don't dwell on these things. You know,
Right.
focus on what is important, is the
Right.
connection that they still have, no matter how somebody passes away, and know that anything physical is temporary.
And
It's
that they're
fleeting.
there for you. That you can. An angel is the size of a thought, right?
Yeah.
And that includes your angels. Your angels are the sizes of your thought, and that's where they exist. That's where they live. So they're as close as a thought,
It's so
right?
true. They're the original. They were Facebook before Facebook was anything, or the internet.
That's right. Wow. You know what? And I just came up with that whole addendum, that as far as the the size, and now the how close they are to you, is they're as close as a thought. I love it. That's
Me
great.
too.
So Gabby says thank you, and Amanda says thank you, and of course I thank you, and of course
Oh,
I'm clicking
you're
on
very
these
welcome.
way too many times. Um, but I don't want to keep you too long. If anyone has another question, and you can fire it off real fast, I'm about to let Chris go back to his life for a little bit. Chris, like I said, I would definitely love to get together with you soon, and even play some music. That would be kind of cool.
Oh
Hint,
yeah,
hint.
I forgot you too. Yeah, it'd be great to do something like that. I
I,
think your
you
bass
know,
amp's still in my house.
I think it is. Leslie says blessings. I think my bass amp is at your house. As a matter of fact, I know it is. And I have been thinking, by the way, about just music in general. And when I was in my 20s, and every night after work I would go to my buddy Adam's house, and we would play music, and it was just me doing it because it was something I loved, and realizing now 30 years later that that was being in the flow, and I was in the
Mm,
flow all of that time. Every time I was playing music with my buddy,
yeah.
I was
And I
just
think that there's something
channeling
to be
love.
said about that, man. It's like, you say, like, you have some sensitivity, you're aware, you have deep thoughts. I think the more creative you are, the more that we have the ability to then kind of venture down into that part of us.
Hmm.
Nothing, I don't think, that has been brilliant or great has not been inspired by spirit. What, Beethoven, or all the music back then, they were all channeling. You know, they
Hmm.
were all channeling songs and great literature and books and ideas and inventions. It's all inspired from our spiritual home. You know,
Absolutely.
so when you're in that zone, artistic people, definitely have that sensibility and receptivity to it. So
Hmm.
you've been doing it all along. Here you are
Yeah.
thinking like, it's just who we are. Is
Absolutely. No, absolutely. The moment, right? The moment. We understand the moment. And it's kind of funny because you kind of made fun of Tommy Chong a little bit, which is totally understandable, but I did realize, like, Tommy Chong's influence on who I am was really just the kind of like, it's all right, man. Everything's
Yeah,
going to be
he's
all
always in
right.
my ear. I don't even know the guy.
You
But
know
yeah,
what I
that
mean?
mentality. You can make
Yeah.
fun of it, but it's that stuff like, oh man, I can never imagine a world of just hippies. It would bother me. But I do kind of wish that we are that mentality, just a little more or less, I guess, gimmicky or something. But
Trust. You just got to
yeah,
trust.
trust the universe, love and peace, man. I guess we need a new movement like that. But
Absolutely.
now we're getting those people that are like those woken people, where we're like, oh, we do feel so much and we know so much and we see things, but almost it becomes this pretentious thing, like,
Right. 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 Right.
and it's like, you don't want to be that, you don't want to be them either. Like, I just want to
Right.
be, just right down the middle. I want to be just this medium, of just, hey, there is, I own my imperfections, and things do bother me, but I won't let it affect me negatively. I won't let it change me.
Right.
That's my one thing, is I feel like, I always want to, I
I'm
like
gonna
who I am.
I'm gonna
Uh,
make a bad joke. You don't want to be large or small. You want to be a medium.
yeah. Do you know I was 10 shopping at Kids R Us? If anybody knows, that store isn't there, but when Toys R Us was at its peak, it had a clothing store called Kids R Us, no more.
Yep.
And I was there. I hated going shopping, and I was always like the small one in my class. So I know, even though I was 10 years old, I was probably still like a youth small. Like, I was never that. And I was trying to figure out, like, which shirt was my size. And in my head, I heard in my head, like, somebody in my head say, you know you're a medium. You know you're going to be a medium. And I remember thinking in my head, I heard it and I went, something knew that it wasn't talking about my
Size.
shirt size.
Right, right,
But
right.
yet it was almost like they were taking advantage of that moment while I was still growing or small to say,
Implanting
you
that
know, you're
little
going to be,
subliminal.
and I never forgot that. I'm like, somehow I had this prophecy in a children's clothing store about who I was to become, and I
That's
had no idea.
hysterical.
And back then, being 10 years old, it was maybe a good 5 or 6 years before mediums were even this thing on in pop culture mainstream.
That's
To
so great.
someone my age, you know, so I had no idea what a medium even meant.
That's
But
hysterical.
I when you said that, I was like, you know, I've always been that, and I'm always comfortable just kind of being like, you know, I just I like that title because I think it fits me. I am always
It's
this
great.
kind of
I
this
love
even keel person.
it. So a last comment from a viewer, Glinda the Good Witch says, "Please post where you'll be singing. I'd love to come with my sisters and my daughter, who's now 20, who maybe you knew when she was a baby." Um, uh, and bless you, your gifts are amazing. But I also wanted to bring up and let you finish your thought because you asked me if I still speak to Steve Interrante, who I was going to tell you I saw at Linda's house on Look Up for Adam Day.
Okay.
So what's up with what was the question about Steve
Oh no,
Interrante?
I'm just always thinking about him. You know,
Oh
and I
yeah, 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 yeah. He's doing good. He's actually, he had surgery like last year, and so he's been recovering, and he's great. He's one of my favorite people in the world.
yeah,
Yeah,
100%. It's funny that we're doing this for an hour, and I'm in. I changed this background to like pink. Um, you know, he is somebody who's this musician, you know, this artist who
hmm,
then is delving down this path of, you know, opening up his own awareness even so more that it becomes a service to people that are looking for the same type of thing. And
right.
he does these. You know, he's really interested in regression therapy and forms of hypnosis and getting us to understand who we are.
Hmm,
And he asked me to kind of be one of his guinea pigs when he first started last year,
hmm.
and I volunteered, and you know, my favorite color has always been like a blue purple, and I uh, I went under. He put me under,
Hmm.
and like a snap of a finger, I opened my mind's eye, and I saw myself swimming in a like almost a world of cotton candy pink and cotton
Wow.
candy. And I'm telling him what I'm seeing and where I'm he brought me to somehow. I don't know if this is a memory, I don't know if, where this, and he was like, "What is this?" And I go, "It's me. I am the pink." And
Wow.
it moved me to tears that, and but at the same time hearing myself say this, as under regression as I was, part of my analytical awakened mind that was very subdued
Hmm.
still thought, I'm a guy. I don't want to be pink. Like, that's the most feminine color there is. And this is
Right,
what
right.
I'm revealing, that not only am I in this world, but I am
I am the pink.
I am pink. I don't know what has happened to me, but ever since I came out of that, I'm obsessed with the color pink.
Wow.
I everything is pink. I'm just drawn to that color. It awoken something in me, you know, and it's like a certain color pink. It's not like light girly pink. It's like this hot pink. But
Right.
I just am obsessed with anything hot pink. And
Wow.
I'm looking, and
So
this was
no
meant to
no
be
judgment.
purple.
What but women's clothes at all, or no? Still men's clothes.
No, still men's clothes, but
Okay.
anything with the hot pink, the underwear will, you know, but yeah, I mean, I always tell myself like it takes a real man to wear pink and pull it off, and I feel like, you know,
Yeah.
so, you know, but that's what I remembered from Steve, and it was just
Wow.
amazing. He helps people kind of uh, feel experience who they are, and I
Right,
even
right, right.
felt not even a heartbeat under regression. I felt like an electrical surge that was doing this, that was almost my
Wow.
pulse. I can't even explain it. And it was almost
Whoa.
like, wow, maybe that's where we get the concept of infinity or that symbol. Maybe it's kind of the electrical current of our soul pulse. That's what I experienced.
Right, right.
And it was absolutely incredible. So much that it had has its effect on my taste in colors and like
That's
clothing and
cool.
stuff like that.
The light that you
So
have behind you is kind of, I would say, more towards the edges where it's like the darker purple color.
yeah. That's
Uh,
what it's meant to be. But I guess the light is making me pink.
that's when I meditate. That's what I consider my soul. I see a light that's that color with that kind of, because it is a little luminescent in behind you, and it just kind of, it's constantly like doing
In
this.
and
It's
out. It's like globbing, and it's like a lava lamp in your head.
yeah, like it's actually always, it like
Vacuum.
feels like it's like appears and then draws me out, like it's going out.
Yeah,
It's not coming in, but it's always going out, and then it like appears and goes out, appears and goes out. But that's the color.
yeah. So we
Very
all
cool.
we're more
Color
than
of the
I
crown
think we can
chakra.
understand, and I think there's something to it. When I told my family and my girlfriend, I'm pink, they all were like, it actually fits you perfect, and I'm like, what does that mean? And they're like, it's not that you're feminine. It's just the
Hey,
idea that you are love. I
Glinda the
took that
Good
as the biggest
Witch.
compliment.
Glinda
That
the Good
that a
Witch,
lot
Baskin Robbins. The color is hot pink.
of. So I take pink as a positive thing. It's what
Cool.
the people associate with love.
It looks great. I love your background. It looks awesome. Not effeminate at all, but very majestic and spiritual. And oh, that's a little harsh.
Now we're heating things up, baby.
Yeah, that's a little, yeah. Very cool, very cool. Well, Christopher, it's 9:30 almost. You are amazing, amazing soul, an amazing person. Um, and this was an amazing moment. Thank you so much
Likewise, man. Same back
for
to you.
joining me. Give me a second backstage while I run my outro, and we will talk to you later. Thank you, everybody, for showing up for the moment and co-creating this beautiful moment with Christopher Allan. I'm still here.net if you want to get in touch with him. As you can see, he's amazing, and that's it. That's all I got to say. That was the moment. Talk to you soon.